He left Nigeria to build a better life for his family. But when he came back unexpectedly, what he saw shocked him. The day Kunle left Nigeria for Italy, his wife Bimbo cried at the airport like someone had died. He held her close and whispered into her ears, "Stop crying. I am only traveling. I will be back before you know it." She nodded, but she could not speak. Kunle pulled back and looked at her face. Her eyes were swollen. Her wrapper was damp from wiping tears. Behind her, their two children stood quietly. Their daughter, Shade, 7 years old, gripped her mother's skirt with both hands. Their son, Tunde, 5, had no idea what was happening. He just kept staring at the big sliding door of the airport like he was waiting for something exciting to come true. Kunle knelt down and pulled both children into his chest. "Papa will be back," he told them, "and when I come back, we will have a real house, a big house, with your own rooms, you hear me?" Shade nodded seriously. Tunde just hugged him tighter. Kunle stood up, picked up his bag and walked towards the departure gate without looking back, because he knew that if he looked back, he would not be able to leave. The last thing he heard was Bimbo calling his name softly. He kept walking. Kunle arrived in Turin, Italy, with almost nothing. A small bag, a phone number of a man from his village who had promised to help him settle, and a dream that felt very big inside his chest, but very small in the face of everything around him. Turin was cold, not just the weather. Everything felt cold. The streets, the building, the faces of people who looked through him like he was not there. The man from his village, whose name was Gbenga, took him in for the first 2 weeks. After that, Kunle was on his own. He found a room he shared with 5 other men. They slept in shifts. The room smelled of sweat and instant noodles and the kind of tiredness that does not go away with sleep. He got a job on a construction site. Long hours, hard work. The kind of work that leaves your hand rough and your back hurting and your mind so tired that you fall asleep before your head touches the pillow. But Kunle did not complain. Every single day, he woke up before the sun and reminded himself why he was there. A house, a real house, for Bimbo, for Shade, for Tunde. He ate cheap food, pasta mostly because it was affordable and it could fill a man. He did not go to restaurants. He did not buy new clothes unless something was completely worn out. Every naira equivalent he could save, he saved. And every month, without fail, he sent money home. Bimbo was a good manager. She stretched every transfer he sent and made sure the construction workers were paid on time. She was the one on the ground, the one negotiating with contractors, the one making decisions when Kunle was far away and could not be reached. She sent him photos regularly. First, it was the land clearing. Just a patch of red earth with some bushes cut down, but Kunle looked at the photo like it was a painting in a museum. Then came the foundation. Concrete poured into the ground, solid and deep. Then the block rising up slowly, row by row. Then the roof, then the window, then the final painting. Cream walls with dark brown edge, clean and beautiful. Kunle saved every single photo in a folder on his phone. On nights when the shared room felt too small and too far from home, he would open that folder and scroll through the pictures one by one. Sometimes, he would trace the outline of the house with his finger on the screen, imagining the day he would stand in front of it in person. That day kept him going. It was the only thing that kept him going. 5 years passed, 5 years of 16-hour shifts. 5 years of pasta and sacrifice. 5 years of sending money home every month and watching a house grow from nothing into something real through a phone screen from thousands of miles away. 5 years of missing his children growing up. He missed Shade's first day of secondary school. He missed Tunde losing his first tooth. He missed school prize and birthday and the small ordinary moments that, when you are away from home, do not feel small at all. But he told himself it was worth it. He told himself that when he went back, he would make up for everything. He would be there for everything that was coming. He would be the father they needed and the husband Bimbo deserved. He just needed to go back first. And one day, he decided the time had come. The house was finished. He had saved a reasonable amount. He had spoken to his employer and arranged his exit. Everything was in order. He did not tell Bimbo he was coming. He wanted to surprise her. He wanted to see her face when she saw him standing at the gate of that house they had built together. He had imagined it so many times. The shock on her face, the way she would scream his name, the way the children would run to him. He had placed this scene in his head 100 times on sleepless nights. He bought the tickets and counted the days. The morning he landed in Lagos, the humidity hit him the moment he stepped off the plane. He had forgotten what Nigeria air felt like, thick and warm and full of everything familiar. He breathed it in and felt something loosen in his chest. He collected his bag and walked out of the airport into the noise and the heat and the chaos of Lagos. Hawkers, yellow buses, car horns, people rushing in every direction. He smiled. He was home. He took a taxi straight to the house. He did not go to any hotel. He did not stop anywhere. He had waited 5 years. He could not wait for one more hour. The neighborhood had changed. New buildings had gone up. The road had been widened. There were more people, more shops, more life on the streets than he remembered. But as the taxi turned onto his street, he recognized the house immediately. The green gates, the cream walls, the dark brown edges, the balcony on the first floor where Bimbo had once told him she would sit in the evening and drink tea and watch the children play in the compound below. His heart was pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. He paid the driver. He stepped out of the car. He stood outside the gate and just looked at it for a moment. 5 years. This was what 5 years looked like. He pushed the gate open and walked in. And that was when his world stopped. Bimbo was sitting on the porch. She was not alone. There was a man sitting beside her. A man Kunle had never seen before in his life. The man has his arm around Bimbo's shoulder, relaxed and comfortable, like a man who was very used to being exactly where he was. Bimbo was laughing at something the man had said. In the compound, 2 small children were playing. Toddlers, a boy and a girl, both under 3 years old. They were chasing each other around a plastic toy, laughing and falling and getting up again. They were not Shade. They were not Tunde. Kunle stood frozen at the gates. Bimbo looked up. Their eyes met. The laughter stopped. The color drained from her face so completely that she looked like she might faint right there on the porch step. She stood up slowly. The man beside her looked confused, then suspicious. He looked at Kunle, then at Bimbo, then back at Kunle. Kunle, Bimbo whispered. Kunle could not speak. His mouth was open, but no word were coming out. His leg felt weak. His mind was racing, but at the same time completely blank, like a phone screen that crashes when it overloads. "Who is this?" the man asked, rising to his feet. Bimbo did not answer him. She was still staring at Kunle with wide, horrified eyes. "You were not supposed to come back yet," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your last letter said next year. You said you were coming next year." Kunle finally found his voice. It came out quiet, too quiet. "I wanted to surprise you." The silence that followed was heavier than 5 years of waiting. The man stepped forward. He was tall, well-dressed. He had the look of a man who was not used to being surprised in his own home. "I was asking a question," he said, looking directly at Kunle. "Who are you?" Kunle kept his eyes on Bimbo. "Tell him," Kunle said softly. Bimbo covered her mouth with her hand, eyes filled with tears. "Tell him who I am," Kunle said again. Bimbo could not speak, so Kunle spoke for himself. "My name is Kunle Adeyemi," he said. "I am her husband. I built this house. Every block, every window, every coat of paint on these walls was paid for with money I sent from Italy. I have been gone for 5 years, and I came home to this." The man stared at him for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a short, hard laugh, the kind of laugh that is not really a laugh at all. "Husband," he said. "I am her husband. We have been married for 2 years. These are our children. This is my family, so I suggest you." "This is my house," Kunle said. His voice did not rise. He did not shout. But something in the way he said it made the man stop talking. Kunle reached into his pocket and brought out his phone. He opened his gallery and screwed back 5 years. The empty land, the foundation, the block, the roof, the window, the painting, every stage, hundreds of photos. He held the phone up so the man could see. "Every naira that built this house came from my hand," Kunle said. "I have receipts. I have 5 years of bank transfer record. Every single one going to my wife for this house." The man's face changed. He looked at Bimbo, and Bimbo, still crying, could not look at either of them. The front door opened. An older woman stepped out onto the porch, Bimbo's mother. She was wearing a house dress and a head wrap, and she looked like she had just come out to see what the noise was all about. She looked at the man. She looked at Bimbo crying. Then she looked at Kunle. She froze. "Egbami," she breathed. "Kunle." She grabbed the door frame with both hands like she needed it to stay standing. Kunle nodded at her. She began to speak under her breath. A prayer, or maybe just shock finding its way out in words. Kunle looked past her into the house. He could see his furniture through the open door. The dining table he had paid for, the television he had selected from a catalog and sent money for, the curtain Bimbo had shown him in a photo and he had told her, "Yes, buy those ones, they are beautiful." All of it was still there, but it did not feel like his anymore. Then behind him near the gate, he heard a small voice. "Papa." He turned slowly. Shade was standing at the gate. She was 12 years old now. 5 years had turned the little girl who held her mother's skirt at the airport into a young woman with long braid and cautious eyes. Behind her stood Tunde, now 10, taller than Kunle expected, staring at him with a face that was impossible to read. "Shade," Kunle said. His voice broke on the word. She did not run to him. She did not scream and jump and throw her arms around his neck the way he had imagined 100 times on cold nights in Turin. She just stood there, looking at him, like you look at someone you remember from a long time ago, and you are not quite sure if you are allowed to feel happy to see them. Because she had not known when he was coming back. She had been told next year, and the year before that, it had also been next year, and the year before that as well. Children learn quickly not to expect things that keep not arriving. Tunde reached out and took his sister's hand. Kunle looked at his son's hand holding his daughter's hand, and something broke inside him that he did not know how to name. He looked at everything at once. The new husband standing on the porch with his arms folded, jaw tight, not sure what to do. Bimbo sitting on the step now, her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Her mother still holding the door frame, standing, praying or crying. It was hard to tell which. The two small toddlers in the compound, who had stopped playing and were now watching all the adults with wide, confused eyes, sensing that something serious was happening, even though they were too young to understand what. His daughter and his son at the gates holding each other's hand. And the house, his house, prim walls, dark brown edge, the balcony where Bimbo was supposed to sit and drink tea. Kunle had spent 5 years building this house. He had sent money every month. He had eaten cheap food and shared a room with 5 other men and worked until his hand bled. He had missed his children growing up. He had missed his wife. He had sacrificed everything. And now, he was standing in the compound of the house he had built, and he did not know where to stand or where to look or who to speak to first, because he had come home, but home had moved without him. Later that evening, after much shouting and crying and the neighbors coming out to watch, and eventually the new husband living with the 2 small children and Bimbo's mother going inside and closing the door, Kunle and Bimbo sat in the compound alone. The sun had gone down. The compound was quiet. Shade and Tunde had gone to their room. Kunle had hugged them both before they went upstairs, and neither of them had pulled away. That was something. That was not nothing. Bimbo sat across from him, her eyes red and swollen, her hands folded in her lap. "I thought you were not coming back," she said. "People were talking. They said you had found a woman over there. They said you were going to settle in Italy and forget us." "I sent money every month," Kunle said, "for 5 years. Money is not a husband, Kunle." He looked at her. She looked back at him. Neither of them had a good answer to that. "I needed someone here," she said quietly. The children needed a father they could see and touch. Not a voice on the phone. Not money in an account. A real person. And I waited. I waited long. But people kept saying things and time kept passing, and I was alone in this house, building it for a man who was not here. Kunle was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "I was building the house for you." "I know," Bimbo said, "and I was living in it without you." This is a story about more than a house. It is a story about what happens when a man sacrifices everything for his family, but forget that his family needs him, not just what he can provide. Kunle built walls and ceiling and window and doors. He paid for every block. He sent photos to himself to remind himself what he was working towards. But a house is not a home. A home is built with presence, with time, with argument and laughter and dinner together, and tackling children in a night and being there when things go wrong. You cannot build a home from thousands of miles away and expect it to still be yours when you return. Kunle sat in the compound of his house that night, listening to the night sound of Lagos, and understood something that 5 years of hard work had not taught him. Some things, once you leave them too long, find a way to go on without you. And some things, once broken, take much longer to fix than any house. What do you think? Did Bimbo make the right decision, or did Kunle deserve better? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.